So this is a confusing spot on the other side of the ravine where for a long time I've been envisioning a building that goes across slope all the way along there. Way up there, right in the middle. And then it would almost be two buildings next to each other with a big covered area in between. And a whole bunch of that would have view of the valley. And but then I was thinking about one big building that just goes up slope. But my goal was to have you be able to walk as far as you can along the building and get access to as much stuff as possible, not needing to go up or down very much. And so the idea of having one building that goes up this whole slope sounds kind of cool in some ways. And I guess those two don't have to be contrary ideas. I could have a building that goes across slope there, and then one that goes up here. And then how wide this building is unknown. But it would at least allow people to walk up and down slope really easily. That would be cool. And then all of that would be view, but view is going to happen in any case. You'd have tons of water available in this part of the building since you've got so much water being captured up there. So it would be like a T almost, with a really big top on it. I don't know. But again, that's out of range of anything that's reasonable that I could do. I mean, that's a couple $1,000,000 to build that building. Even if I do it, with local materials in a fairly cheap way, I have to have infrastructure built good enough for earthquakes and stuff, especially with multi-story buildings. Well, with any building, I want overbuilt. I want to be able to handle an earthquake that is worse than the worst earthquake anyone here can imagine. Like worse than that. In here I want to put a lake, I think. In fact, yeah, I do, because it's one of the only places to do that. It's the only place on this whole side, and so it makes total sense. And I want a lake that wastewater can go into, and all the wastewater should be fairly clean. I don't know. I'm just going to get confused. I know in here, on the lower part, I'm going to cut off the end of it, have there be a specialized space. Anything near the gate becomes owned by the whole property, and then run a road right through the middle of this thing. And there's a little forest over there. I could have a larger building here and a larger building there, although I've had weird ideas about buildings that are mostly empty and mostly more like a playground, more like levels of plazas with, cooler spaces and warmer spaces, and have fire pits dug within it. Almost like a parking garage that's been turned into Swiss cheese. So it has tons of areas where the light goes into other levels and is all full of microclimates and a lot of stuff growing out of them. That'd be pretty cool. And how much of that would be, I don't know. I have a vision for this spot. And I could just start with one. I could reserve that and then start with one over there on the other side of that little grove and to see how it goes. Or I could start with one over here. I don't know where. The other question is, how public is it? And the answer to that is dang near none of it. If I want to build something public, I should build it closer to town. Because I want a lot of privacy. This is a tough area in here because I don't want to cut these trees down. And so I think I'm not gonna. And that's why I was talking about that building over there. Is because I want the shade in here and I want to terrace it, and there's some oaks up in there. Not a lot, but there's a lot of baby oaks. And so I can put in lots of shade so that that building has access to an entire park right next to it. And I guess down here this ends up being like a plaza where it's more for walking around. There could still be buildings within it. There's going to be tiny bits of housing that support businesses that provide food and drink and stuff. I mean, in theory, I see this part of the land as really simple, but it's not. Up there I've got spots with amazing views. I don't know, this is so hard. Wasn't I supposed to have beginner's mind and see this without assumptions? I can't do it. You can't see something for the first time again. And I've seen this so much. But I can use other people's eyes. Other people could come here and see it for the first time. That's that good idea of bringing these designers together, seeing what they would come up with without my influence, and then accept and reject what they say. I like that. I'm not going to be able to GPS this really well. I can't walk through that shit. I didn't bring my machete either. And it would take me like to machete from there to over there on where I might want a road would take me a really long time. And I'd be all sweaty and the sun's going to get hot here any minute. I have thought about like a brush killer, which would actually act like a whole team of machete people. That's not a bad idea. I don't like that even a brush killer is not going to have quite as much carefulness as I want, but if I'm talking about potentially bulldozing an area anyway, then a brush cutter would make a trail there to start with, and then I could see what I was working with. And the truth is, the forest does grow back. I mean, that whole area didn't used to have a bunch of underbrush. It used to be you could walk all over through there because it was all pine trees. And pine trees are really good at making it so nothing else grows there. They're not really a friendly tree. I mean, I like pine trees for what they are, but they can be in the wrong spot and they can be real annoying. Would I put another gate down there? Well, hell yeah, I would. Because there's already a road here. This road sucks, but yeah, I would put another gate in there, even if it never gets used. That sounds kind of dumb, doesn't it? And I need to put a connecting road over there. If I did that, I would have a lot of options here. But this is like an out-of-the-way place. I would not put a gate there right away. Hi, honey, sweetie baby. Yeah, that's a bad idea. Anyway, I'm going to put a gate up there. I already know that. I'm going to put a gate and even a parking lot up there. I need a, well, if I ever get access to this road, I don't have official access to this road. So right now this is all very theoretical. Would I put a parking lot there if I didn't have official access to that road? Maybe. I think I should just design it to have things, even because you know, you can't see the future very well, but you can see the future. You can't know that you're right. Things change. But I believe you can predict the future, and I've been doing that all my life. Not all of it, but most of it. And I was wrong about some things. I was wrong about a lot of things that happened with the internet. And part of that it was because I thought people were any good at all. Turns out people are pretty fucking evil. So that's why the world sucks. So I got to design for people who are terrible and then collect the best ones and have an infrastructure that helps them be better. That's all I can come up with for a solution. We'll still be us. Fucking worms that we are.